Entrepreneurs are losing opportunity to make money because they're so busy trying to make everyone happy that they end up making no one happy.
The people displeaser himself, the one and only Nick Pollard, world-renowned coach and speaker. He has over 50 million views on his social media channels.
Stop being a people pleaser. You have to learn to prioritize the word no.
He wrote a book to help people build bulletproof boundaries.
I can tell you're a people pleaser when you...
I can tell you're a people pleaser when you have a...
Hey, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I have a question for you. Why are people terrified of what other people think of them?
I'm not sure that, I think my world in the people-pleasing sense, I don't know that they are terrified of what other people think of them. I think they're terrified that other people will find out what they think of them. So I think in more ways than one, I think we're kind of dealing with an epidemic of low self-esteem and low self-image. I don't honestly believe that people really care about what other people think. I think they care that their self-image sucks and they're afraid that other people are going to see that. And then I think that there's a real misconception around who is supposed to love you, right? Which is, it's not that I don't care what other people think. I'm just very selective in who I allow to have that impact. And when you realize that not everybody's supposed to like you, then you can focus on the people that are supposed to like you. Then you can, kind of broaden out that spectrum and figure out, who do I want to be? And then what kind of tribe do I want to attract myself?
If I don't like me, then I project that on why should someone else like me? Why should this person like me? Why should my wife or my husband like me? How, or should the universe or God even like me? And we end up creating this prison cell for ourselves of self-shame, self-loathing, self-hatred. What does that look like in some of the people that you've served?
When you judge yourself really harshly, you also tend to judge other people very harshly, right? And when you're working with people that want to connect and want to find love and want to, rather than fit in, to kind of find that sense of belonging, then you have to lay down that judgment, right? And I think there's a difference between, being self-aware and self-judgmental, and, owning and understanding who you are is really important, right? But at the same time, I think when you look at yourself and go, I'm a piece of shit, or I am, like, that's kind of a statement that really bogs a lot of people down, is like, I am this. And when you subscribe to that or describe yourself as this, as I am a thing, the person on the other side, then they are as well. And you don't really get a chance to get to know them because you're so busy trying to prevent humans from seeing you in the light that you actually exist, that there's no way to form kind of meaningful and genuine relationships.
Yeah. And Michael Jackson comes to mind. That Man in the Mirror, song kind of rings in the ear. And here we are. We're all battling the same thing. And it has nothing to do with anyone else in the room. It's how we see
think
ourselves,
it does.
right? We think it does. We project that it does. And we hope that it does, because I don't want to own the fact that perhaps I'm the one creating my own bullshit.
Right.
Right? God forbid.
Right. It's, I say this kind of stuff all the time, and it gets me in trouble every single time I do it. Like, your life is ultimately your fault. Like, at the end of the day, after you've realized that you've had trauma, or after you realize you have things to heal, like, everything after that kind of becomes your fault. And you can be at fault for something awesome, or you can be at fault for something awful. And I've been at fault for both. And I'll say that, being at fault for something awesome is markedly better, but it's still pretty awful. Like, there's a good amount of times that, like, I hate my company, and I still hate myself from time to time. And, I've got this ruminating brain that'll just fire off all this bullshit that I've ever done. And you don't have to be perfect. And that idea of, like, perfection is really just rooted in selfishness. Like, nobody needs to know that I have pain just like they do. We're all human beings. We're all walking along in this, silly thing we call life, and we're all trying to do it right, and we're all failing. So, just keep doing that. See what happens.
Yeah. And fail less and learn the lessons, learn the wisdom, and, make it a better next step.
Right.
I think there's, in the context of people I work with, and I believe you work with some too, and business owners, entrepreneurs, high energy, high power leaders who are in a place where, high performance ambition is driven by some need, some thirst for validation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
And so they're contingent on their success, quote unquote, by what someone else says or gives them permission to experience.
Sure.
Does it make a difference whether you're making 100 grand or 100 million?
It's a tough question. I think there are differences, but I don't know that it makes a difference in terms of overall happiness. But I think we like to think it does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we use what we don't have as an excuse for why we can't be, whether it be happy or who we want to be. Or I also think that happiness is very much subjective. So I think it's different for everybody.
I agree. And I've had clients who have reached, say moved from 6 figures to 7 figures, and now I'm a millionaire. Shouldn't I feel different by now?
Right.
And they realize that the wealth, though they have opportunities, though they have choices, until you fix the inner thing, the inner, acceptance, none of that really matters. So in context of business, we have leaders who are people pleasers. And that can get pretty ugly within a company. Could you explain, what does that look like if someone maintains a trajectory of pleasing people?
Right. So you've got this, one of these, I had hire an HR manager and she was like, why is the churn so low? And I'm like, well, I don't know. But it could be that we have B-level players making exceptional money because nobody wants to fire anybody because it might hurt somebody's feelings. Mm-hmm. Right. So it just creates this kind of toxic, cancer-ridden culture that it ends up taking you out at the knees eventually.
Yeah.
Right?
People are on a performance mentality that I have to make people happy. So now I'm performing. We'll end up exerting more time than we should, spending more hours than we ought to, sacrificing our own families or our own well-being, our own health, because we're just trying to make someone else on some measurement that we have prescribed in our head, trying to make them happy. Where's freedom?
Damn, you're good at this. Freedom. You mean freedom from people pleasing or freedom in general?
Yeah. How do we break free from that? How does someone who's sitting in their car right now, you who are doing the dishes, the person who just got on their lawnmower, you're sitting here and you're identifying yourself as what we are describing. You're like, well, shit, now what? First
step, probably learn to say no. I call it the no game. So you have to say no to everything for 7 days. If it's going to get you fired, you can't do it. The second rule is you can tell everybody in your life you're playing the game. Right? You can tell everybody in your life you're playing the game, and then you have 90 seconds to change your mind. So you can change your mind after 90 seconds on anything. Most resoundingly, what I find is that people figure out pretty quickly how meaningless their word has become until they start saying no, right? Because that's another thing with the CEO pleaser, the pleaser CEO is they overcommit, oversell, and then they're left in the lurch, and they can't deliver.
Yeah, and then they put pressure on everyone else around them to try and get things across the finish line.
Yeah, I just had this happen, by the way.
So I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Okay.
I have come out of that from my past when I ran a business and then got behind. So I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't know how to, go to my board. I didn't know how to ask for help. I'm just going to make everybody happy by just saying yes, put another thing on my shoulder, another thing on my shoulder, another thing on my shoulder. Before I knew it, I'm alcoholic. I'm addicted to porn. I'm out sleeping around. I blow up my marriage. I blow up my life. And thus begins the story of Angus discovering counseling and self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and all the psychology behind all of it, right? And then flash forward, a decade, and I'm running an innovation association for Fortune 500 brands, and I'm starting to recognize these same patterns in my clients.
Yep.
Right. And so the stuff it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Because people are driven by this performance mentality. And so a business owner that's listening, they need to establish some boundaries. They need to start saying no. They need to start having some sense of self. Is there anything I'm missing?
Maybe the boundaries with whom? Boundaries are misunderstood in that they're not external, they're not extrinsic, they're intrinsic. But there's something about an entrepreneur that I think gets overlooked in that conversation, in that our businesses are very much extensions of who we are. Mm-hmm. Right? They're our babies. They're what we put our pain into. Like they are the purpose in very many of us. Where am I violating my own boundaries in this? Where am I out of alignment in my personal life, in my professional life, in my social life? Like what am I doing that I need to stop doing? And what do I need to start doing? And then once I've done that, I usually kind of have a reset.
Perfect. Now you got to take a more broader objective look. So I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
First question is, what do you want to want?
Is to know every day that I'm enough. Right? Just that I'm enough. And it's a really hard thing for me. I think that's my mission, is to wake up each day and just know that I'm enough.
To stop being a people pleaser, you have to...
To stop being a people pleaser, you have to learn to prioritize the word no. Entrepreneurs are losing opportunity to make money because they're so busy trying to make everyone happy that they end up making no one happy.
Final question.
Yeah.
I can tell you're a people pleaser when you...
I can tell you're a people pleaser when you have a very full life, but your life is not very full.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick, for being part of the show and bringing your full self. I believe if you're listening and you are hearing these words, either from what Nick has shared or my story, and it's a story that you are experiencing, know that, first of all, you're not alone. Others have experienced it too. And number two is, don't stay there.
No.
Get some help. Ask. Talk to somebody. Like, get this stuff off your chest. You don't have to carry this weight by yourself. And then let the chips fall. And as much as it may look like there's pain, I guarantee you there's sunshine in the morning. You will get through this. I say that a lot. It's one of my favorite things is, like, no matter what, you will smile again.